What's going on, guys? This is Lior and welcome back to the channel. Now in this video, what I thought I'd talk about is I've had a lot of you guys reach out to me who are interested in buying their first or next home around the Boston area, and typically it's a condo, and are thinking about house hacking that condo, right? Because a lot of you guys are obviously interested in home ownership, especially in an amazing market like Boston, but you obviously want to be strategic about it and be able to generate some rental income from that purchase as well. So you thought about house hacking. So what I thought I would do in this video is actually talk about the strategy, the financing, and the numbers behind buying a condo around the Boston area and doing that sort of house hack. And I've got two people closing tomorrow on this exact strategy. So you'll also see me drive over to our final walkthrough, and I'll give you guys the exact numbers behind their purchase. So with that, let's get at it. What's going on, guys? My name's Lior and welcome back to my channel. Now, before I get into it, two super quick things. Number one, guys, if this is your first time on my channel, first of all, welcome. Second of all, make sure you smash that subscribe button. I put out tons of videos every single week talking about everything from neighborhood overviews, strategies on buying homes, lifestyle around greater Boston, and everything in between. So if that's the kind of content you're looking for, make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. And number two, guys, if you're thinking about doing anything with real estate around the greater Boston area, whether it's buying, selling, investing, leasing, whatever it is, you can see as my hands are swinging, I'm super passionate about this. I get so many calls from you guys watching my videos, and I absolutely love it. So if you're thinking about doing anything, hit me up and I will definitely help you out. So let's get right into it. And as I said, I've had a lot of you guys reach out who are thinking about buying condos around the Boston area, right? Typically first condo, maybe second condo, and typically you guys are looking at areas like JP, Rosendale, Dot, Southie, Charlestown, what else am I missing? Medford, Watertown, Somerville, Cambridge, right? So basically within 15-20 minutes of Boston. And you want to make that move, but you want to do it strategically, right? Because obviously taking on a mortgage on your name is certainly a pretty decent expense. So you've thought about potentially house hacking that condo, right? Where you might maybe buy a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom condo, and then to help you with the mortgage and generate some rental income, you might rent out 1 bedroom or two bedrooms in your unit to kind of offset some of those mortgage expenses. Now, I think that's an amazing idea. I think, again, if you can get into home ownership in the greater Boston area, you guys know I am super high on Boston for the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, the city is a world-class city, one of the biggest markets and most prestigious markets in all over the country and even the world. So I think if you can get into home ownership around the area, you're gonna do super well. But you obviously want to do it strategically. So in this video, what I thought I'd do is break down the components of financing, the strategy, and the numbers. And then, as I said, I've actually got two people closing on this strategy literally tomorrow who got the idea from these videos, which is awesome. So I'm gonna drive over to the walkthrough, and at that walkthrough, I'll even give you guys some of the numbers behind their purchases, just to make it a little bit more real for you guys. So first, in terms of financing, let's talk about that. So obviously the big misconception with real estate is you typically need, 20-25% down to buy your home. Now, if you've seen my other videos, you probably know that's not true, right? You can definitely get into homes way cheaper than 20-25%. Every time I bought an owner-occupant residence, literally the most I've ever put down has been 5%, and I've done it 3 times now. So you could definitely get a 5% down loan or a 10% down loan, whatever you wanted to. And with condos, you don't even need to resort to the FHA loan, right? So that might ring a bell if you've thought about potentially buying a multifamily, right? So if you're gonna house hack a multifamily, which is a similar concept, except you're buying a 2 or 3 family, you will need an FHA loan. But with the condos, what's really cool is you can get a 5% down loan that's actually a conventional product, right? And it's a conventional loan which just means it's a lot easier for you to get. It's cheaper, it's quicker, it's just a whole lot smoother. So it is, I think, an awesome loan for you guys that are watching, that are, again, trying to buy your first or second home and don't necessarily have that, 20-25% down to put on the purchase. And just to give you a little bit more context, I've personally used this loan for my personal residence in Southie. So I use this 5% down conventional product. My brother, if you're watching, shout out, has used this loan now twice, again, to buy 2 primary residences. And I've had a ton of you guys watching this video use this fantastic product. Now, let's talk a little bit about cash flow and the numbers behind the purchase. So typically the way I like to look at these purchases is in 2 scenarios, right? Scenario number 1 is gonna be the scenario where you actually live in the unit. And in this scenario, you're gonna wanna know what your mortgage expenses are gonna be, what other costs you're gonna have, which is typically gonna be your condo fee. And then I always advocate for having a little bit of a maintenance budget as well, because it's real estate and things happen. And then you can also figure out what you can rent out the other 1 or 2 bedrooms to roommates, right? So in most of these markets that I mentioned early on, like JP, Rosendale, Dot, what am I missing? Medford, Watertown. Most of these markets, you can usually rent out a bedroom for somewhere between $900 to $1,100. If you're gonna go into Southie, you can probably get $1,200, $1,300. There's obviously some differences, but that's the general ballpark. So we can really figure out exactly what your numbers and your financials are gonna look like while owner occupied. Now, the cool thing too is a lot of you guys are thinking about this not only as your primary residence, but potentially as an investment or rental property down the line, right? So you might live in this property for maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, and then maybe you'll move out, but keep this property as a rental, right? Then rent out the entire thing on 1 lease. So the other analysis I like to do as well is figure out what those numbers will look like, right? So we can figure out what your expected total rent can be that you can generate, right? And then again, we'll subtract your mortgage expense, we'll subtract your condo expense, we'll subtract a maintenance expense. Typically, I'll also throw in a vacancy expense as well, because again, if you see my other videos, you can never assume your unit's gonna be rented 100% of the time. So we kind of make a little bit of an allowance for that. So the point is, we'll figure out those numbers so you can see the scenario for owner occupying and the scenario for as an investment property. And assuming the numbers check out on both scenarios and you're comfortable with both scenarios, then we can typically proceed with putting offers and obviously buying the units. Now, before I head out and drive over to the walkthrough, 2 other key points I wanted to throw out there for you guys if you're gonna be contemplating this strategy. Key point number 1 to keep in mind is one big thing I always look out for when people are doing this is the condo fee, right? So when you're buying this, you really want to try and keep your condo fee on the minimal, right? So I always like to see somewhere between $100, maybe $200, maybe a little bit more than that, but not much more, right? Because once you start going into condo fees that are say $300, $400, $500 plus, that really starts eating into your monthly expenses and it becomes kind of a big expense. So typically I like to avoid bigger condo complexes, right? So those condo complexes with 10, 15, 20 and plus units, because those are the complexes that typically have larger condo fees. So I like looking at condos in 2 and 3 unit buildings, right? Because typically in 2 or 3 unit buildings, those condo fees are gonna be on the lower end. So those are gonna be more financially strategic for you. And the second thing I like to keep in mind as well is, especially if you're gonna be using, say, a 5% down loan, right? Because you don't necessarily have the 20-25% down. The other thing I'm gonna be looking out for is evaluating condition and the condition of large mechanical items or large renovations, right? Because here's the thing, if you're buying in Boston, you probably know this, that Boston is not necessarily a cash cow market, right? It's a very expensive market, but obviously I see ton of upside if you can be patient, but it's not like you're generating a ton of cash flow on a month-to-month basis, right? It's just hard with the pricing. So if you're going into these units, if you're going to be executing on the strategy, you don't necessarily want to get into a unit where you're going to need to sink in a large amount of dough, right? Because that's really going to eat a lot of your cash reserves and again, not generate a ton of yield today, right? So I typically like to go more after more turnkey units. Again, units that are good, that can be rented today, that don't have any major mechanical issues like, you know, need boiler or furnace replacements, may need new roofs, need electrical work, right? So we kind of try to find some of the more turnkey stuff, so your cash outlay doesn't go all out the window the day you purchase, and then you're kind of stuck in a weird position. So hopefully that makes sense. Now I'm gonna get out of here. I need to go drive over, do the walkthrough for one of the condo purchases. So I'll see you guys over there at the condo. All right, so I just pulled up to my final walkthrough for the condo. So I'm just gonna give you guys some quick context of the condo, just to, again, give you guys better feel of what this can truly look like. So this is a 3/4 bedroom condo in Dorchester, actually an amazing location in the Ponset. So it's right by the ocean, it's really convenient. So it's an awesome large condo, like 1,200 square feet. And I thought I'd break down the financials for you guys again so you can make sense of the numbers. The purchase price on this one is, I believe, is about $520,000. So the way the numbers stack out is the buyer's mortgage, he's putting down 5%, kind of like we talked about with the conventional loan. So the buyer's mortgage is going to be like $2,000. You know, condo fee, I believe, is around, let's say, $200. So that adds up 22. Plus you take taxes and insurance. Basically looking at all-in payment of like, let's call it 25, 26, not including the residential exemption, right? So in Boston, if you own or occupy a property, you can actually apply for what's called a residential exemption, and you get a massive discount on your taxes. But, you know, just again, for easy numbers, let's call it around 2,600 bucks. And the cool thing is, as a full rental property, right, that unit will probably lease for somewhere around 3,000 to 3,100 or so. So there's actually pretty decent amount of yield especially for like a really good area like this in a Ponset in Dorchester. Now, first, he's obviously going to own or occupy. He'll probably get 2 roommates that will probably come in and, let's say, pay around $1,000, which is pretty standard for this area. So, you know, there's $2,000 coming in, which essentially offsets the mortgage. So, you know, he'll have the condo fee, taxes, insurance to pay, which might run him like, say, $600. But that's really not that bad, right? I mean, again, for owning a unit, just to pay $600, I mean, if you think about that versus rent, I'm sure everyone knows you can't even rent that cheap anywhere in Boston. So that's kind of the math that, you know, a lot of you guys should be thinking about if you're going to plan this strategy. Again, you can basically offset a large chunk of your mortgage as an owner occupant. Maybe pay a couple $100 to own your condo and live in it. And then if you ever actually move out, again, you can still get pretty solid returns, right? I mean, you know, getting a rent of like $3,100 on a total monthly payment of like 25, 26. Even if you throw in, you know, you definitely got to throw in like $200-300 of maintenance. There's still a little cash flow there, especially for being invested in such an amazing market and location. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit more context to the strategy. I'm going to go hop over there, actually do the final walkthrough. We're closing on it tomorrow morning. But obviously, if you guys have any questions, concerns, or anything like that, just shoot them below, and I will definitely help you out.